Good morning, everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. October is a month where we like to celebrate public power. First week of October is actually Public Power Week, but something that we always like to do to extend it, to make sure that we have a chance to really celebrate all the different professionals who contribute to this. And as you'll see with this video, there's a lot of individuals that go into being able to make this happen. So a couple of quick words of advice. When the video actually starts, we do recommend that you would maybe double click full screen. If you have any questions that come up while the video is playing, please don't hesitate to send a chat message through the Q&A. I'll be paying attention to that as well as the other panelists. So if there's anything that y'all are curious about, please don't hesitate to go ahead and ask. So with that, we'll go ahead and start the video.
Hello, and welcome to BPUB's annual community tour. BPUB has always taken great pride in opening its doors to the community so that they can come and see what it is that we do here for the community. Unfortunately, COVID-19 had other plans for 2020, but we didn't want people to miss out. We still wanted to have some kind of tour, so we decided to make it virtual this year. Hope that you still find it educational and that it'll be enough to tempt you to sign up for the tour once it's offered again. But before we get started on the tour, I wanted to take a second to learn a little bit about one of BPUB's top priorities, and that's safety.
So I know we have Adolfo Vasquez from the safety department, and he was going to say a few words in regards to safety before we got started.
And we do try to provide a safe and healthy work environment for all of our employees. So throughout this tour, you'll see different types of controls that we put in place to protect the employees and visitors as well. But when this is not possible, we then turn to what is called personal protective equipment. And throughout the video pictures, you'll see different employees wearing different types of personal protective equipment. And the most common type that you'll see is going to be a hard hat and a safety vest. During the normal tours, when we do the walk around, this is actually provided to the participants as well. Most importantly, as you do the tour, we're working in plants, whether power plants, substations. These are high hazard areas. We do want everybody to understand that these are areas where touching the wrong thing, moving the wrong switch can cause a lot of damage, not only to the employee or to visitors, but the system itself. So this is something we recommend anybody visiting, or if you ever walk by one of our facilities, don't be too curious and try to reach in there, try to grab something, try to touch something, because this is an area that is very hazardous and very dangerous to all of our employees and as well visitors. So always be mindful of signs that we have out there. Always be mindful of the messages that are on those signs. We want to make sure that if at any time visitors or public see any issues with our systems, that they do call in our number to report any dangerous situations. With that, like I said, during a normal tour, we'd be going through the process of wearing a hard hat, of wearing a safety vest. and some other areas. But in this case, everybody's at home, and we hope everybody is safe there, and you don't have to wear any type of PPE in those areas. So thanks again for joining us, and hope you enjoy the tour.
First stop doesn't take you too far from your house, and that's your meter. Let's go to revenue recovery to learn about some of the dangers associated with meter tampering.
Welcome to the Revenue Recovery Department. My name is Ramon Lucio, and we got some things that we can show you today regarding meter tampering. Meter tampering can be defined as diverting the meter or disorienting the meter or water meter itself. What we have here is a solid state, actually it's a mechanical meter. It's a mechanical meter. This mechanical meter has been used for years within Brownsville, here in Brownsville. Okay, now we've been changing for a while to solid state meters, which is just pure wires inside. Okay, on this one, this is a new kind of meter that we have now. As you can see, there's a little display that goes here. This little display is covered by this area to where when the sun hits it, it will not fade away. So it will last for a long time. Okay, and here we have another solid state meter. This is for the RF meters, which is the ones that can be picked up on the street, by the street, and or by the corner of the driving by. You can pick it up with an itron. Okay. Some signs of tamperings that we look for out there is broken seals, magnets on the meters, any attachment on the meter itself, or also some holes on the objects trying to stop the disc from turning. Okay. Our frontline people that when they discover a tampering would be the meter readers and the servicemen, and maybe the customers also when they call the hotline. And the hotline number is area code 956-983-6381. The meter readers, what they do is every day they go out there at 7 o'clock in the morning. They go out there and read your meter, either water meter or electric meter. And they average about maybe 500 to 600 meters a day. Okay, that's what they do. And it's from 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Every day, Monday through Friday. So, and sometimes they work on the weekends also. And the servicemen, what they do, they disconnect, they reconnect their services, they get the get starts, which means when there's a new customer coming in on a location, which is a house or an apartment, they're the ones that do the inspection before you go into that house. So it would be safe for you to enter the house, and render services. Okay, meter tampering was common back when it started. It started, I think, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2007. Okay, and ever since it's been going. The numbers have been going down, because now they know that we're out there. So that's when people now most of the time they call in on the hotline. You know what? My neighbor has this going on. Can you come and check it? Or even the meter readers when they call us for a broken seal. So we go out there and check it out first. Before we determine anything or thinking that they're tampering. The tampering fees run up from $425, depending on what it is. If it's the water, it's $425. The tampering fee has to be paid within 24 hours. Okay, we do a police report. We do charge them the $425, and we do a back billing. Okay, on the electric side, it's $435. And it has to be paid also within 24 hours. And we do the same process as the water. And we can go up to 4 years, depending on how we see that. The movement was to where maybe the consumption went high or went low. That's all we can determine. We had an incident back in, I could say, when I started here. We had an incident, and this customer had a big house, maybe about 3,000 square feet. Okay, an average, I guess he was averaging real low on the consumption, so we went to go check it out. Okay, and on that case, this customer was tampering because he had some lines connected to our site. So he had jumpers. And then we recovered about maybe 15,000 from that customer. Yes, it's very dangerous. You can get electrocuted. You can actually die out of it, because it is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And some people think it's easy, but it's dangerous. Thank you for joining us. And remember, to report any tampering, just call the hotline 956-983-6600.
We do have some people available in case there are any questions. You can send them through the chat to me. For the team that's here, I am kind of curious. What are some of the bigger cases that you've run into? Either length of time or maybe the cost involved. See.
Good morning, this is Evelyn. So the one that Raymond Lucio was speaking about, that was a residential. He did have an additional wire bypassing the meter. Although we did back bill him only 4 years, it was $15,000. On the residential, that has been our largest case. On a commercial, we've had a customer who had the same type of tampering, which was an additional wire bypassing our meter. And for that case, we back billed them $12,000. They paid immediately. A couple of years later, we caught them a second time doing the same exact thing. So we do go back and check our customers. If we caught them tampering once, we do keep an eye on them if the consumption drops again. It has dropped some in the past years because they know we're out there. We are checking. We do neighborhood sweeps. And that's every day that we are out there checking for any possible tampering.
And
any other questions?
We do get a lot of customers, like citizens, who send reports too, don't we?
So we have, I'm not understanding the question, I'm sorry.
We have people who report issues through the hotline as well.
Yes, that's correct. We do have customers that call in our hotline. We also have, they can report it through our website as well. And, sometimes people start talking to their neighbors or trying to compare bills, and they think, their neighbors are going to be okay with them tampering. So they'll call it in and report it. So yes, we do get calls, and we do get it reported on our website as well.
And do you have any idea how many meters exactly do we have that we're responsible for checking up on?
So yearly, we check around 6,000 locations. I do have 2 employees, and we run about 500 to 600 meters a month that we check, and that includes the electrical and water. We also do wastewater as well. If they have not come in to apply for services, and it is in an area where we service, we'll go out there and check to see if they did a self-connection on the sewer side, the wastewater side. So we take care of all 3 services as well.
That's great. That's great. See if did anyone else have any other questions? Or Evelyn, is there any other tips or advice that you would give to our attendees today?
Yes, if you hear or see anybody around a meter, and please call it in, report it. We'll be happy to go out there and check, regardless if it is tampering or not. Keep in mind that it is extremely dangerous. And when they're doing these type of tampering, it's live, it's hot. And that's what they need to remember. It's not that they're disconnecting the services. They're doing it while the services is still on. So they can get electrocuted, and it affects all of us. So please keep that in mind. We do have a hotline, we do have our website, and if you want us to contact you, please leave me your information. If not, it is anonymous. So we'll be happy to check anything that you report.
Great. Thank you very much, Evelyn. And
Thank you.
we'll go ahead and go on for the next stop.
That meter is what measures the amount of electricity that you use in your home. But how is that electricity generated? Our next stop should answer some of those questions. Let's head over to Silas Ray Power Plant.
Welcome to Silas Ray Power Plant. My name is Alonso Gonzalez. I'm the senior engineer here at the power plant. I've been here close to 20 years. This is the Silas Ray Power Plant. It was installed in 1948, and we've been installing generators almost on average every 10 years. So currently we have operating 3 turbines. We have our unit number 10, unit number 6, and our unit number 9. In combination of all these 3 generators, we have approximately 110 megawatts of available power to the city of Brownsville. Unit number 9 and unit 10 are basically jet engines. Unit number 9 is an industrial type jet engine, and unit number 10 is an aeroderivative jet engine generator, and unit number 6 is actually a steam turbine generator, which is in combined cycle with our unit number 9. So in combination of all these 3 generators, we have about 110 megawatts of available power for the city of Brownsville. And another thing is, all the energy we use here is natural gas. That's the fuel we have for our turbines. And we don't have any. We used to have diesel, and that was on unit number 9 only. And also another important part is we do have emissions controls in all the units, so we keep the emissions as required by the state of Texas in compliance for all the turbines. Another important thing on the power plant is that we are a black start for the state of Texas, and we have that mode of operation available for the city of Brownsville also. In case we need power, we can turn on our unit number 10 and provide power to the city of Brownsville. We have about 26 employees here at the power plant. We have an operator, 2 operators at the control room, 24/7, 365 days of the year. So there's people at the control room all the time in case the power is needed. They turn on the generators and turn them off as required. And we also have a crew of mechanics and instrument technicians that take care of the maintenance and preventive maintenance of the plant, correct? And also we have mechanical engineers as myself, and then another mechanical engineer and supervisors, the maintenance supervisor and the operations supervisor, and of course the power plant manager. So a total of 26 employees here at the plant. The control room is basically is where all the information is gathered from the plant, from all the turbines. They have a monitoring system, what we call a distributed control system, in which they have monitors getting all the temperatures, pressures of the turbines at the different stages of the turbine, as well as the cooling equipment and all the auxiliary equipment that they have. So the chief operator is at the control room monitoring all those temperatures and alarms. And if there's something that looks kind of different or out of the ordinary, they can send a turbine operator to take care of it. Make sure they visually inspect the equipment, make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary, and they can take the appropriate action to correct it and make sure the generator is in operation. So basically, in the control room, they take care of the equipment and make sure it operates as intended. And the way it works is that we send the power through the lines that you see around the city, and those lines interconnect to all the substations that we have in the city, and from there they step down the voltage to the regular homes and businesses. So this power plant is actually interconnected to all the substations in the city, as well as interconnected to all the other substations from the other companies in Texas and ERCOT in this case. Thank you for joining us today, and hopefully by next year we'll be able to invite you to our regular tours again.
So we wanted to, again, give the opportunity for some questions. I did have one that came in. How many megawatts can we generate, and how much do we use as a city during our peak hours? So I think, Mr. Alvarez, I'll go ahead and unmute you. Eli.
Okay. Hey, yeah. Hey, Ryan. It's Eli Alvarez. I'm the area manager for the electrical. So on a peak season, the Brownsville Pub, which is part of the city, so we can't necessarily speak for all the city because some of the other citizens of Brownsville have AEP and Magic Valley. But for Brownsville, our peak was 310 to 306, around that. That's in megawatts. So that's what we've experienced as our summer and sometimes winter peaks. Now, in terms of what Brownsville Pub can produce, I think the nameplate rating that Mr. Gonzalez had mentioned was somewhere around 100 megawatts. But I know that Mr. Lozano's on the line, and he can give us more information on that.
Okay, let me see. And I also wanted to know, as far as Silas Ray, do we have an idea about how many customers it's able just on its own to service?
Yeah, that would depend, but what the general idea is that for every megawatt, you're looking at residential, anywhere from 150 to 200 residents. So if you do the math, it's quite a lot, but it all depends on how they load. If it's commercial, industrial, obviously that's changed. If you have a big industrial or commercial customer, that would also change. But in general, you're looking at about 150 to 200 residential, 1,500 square foot homes for every 1 megawatt that is produced.
Okay. And do we know how many people do we have that are able to work on those turbines?
That I don't know. The operators that are trained to do that, I think either Mr. Gonzalez or Mr. Lozano would be able to provide us more information on that. But there are operators that are very technical, and they oftentimes been to school to very specialized schools to maintain these turbines. And in some cases, we also have to get that outsourced. So since it's very specific to the manufacturer, a manufacturer representative would have to come in and service them according to the company standards. But we do have staff that are able to do general maintenance work on these turbines. And as I mentioned, Mr. Lozano or Mr. Gonzalez would probably be able to answer those questions.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about ERCOT as well?
Sure. ERCOT is basically the grid operator. So they're the main grid operator. They will basically give instructions to the power plant and tell them when to run and for how long. So they coordinate all that. They're also the compliance entity here in Texas. So what they'll do, it's actually a reliability entity. So they'll make sure that they have all the standards, the procedures, and operating guides that would allow BPUB in this case and other companies to run according to what the rules and laws are for the electric grid. So they coordinate all that. They're also the reliability entity. They coordinate all the procedures, guidelines, and protocols necessary to run the Texas electric market. So they're a big player. I myself am the BPUB representative, so I'll go to the it's called the Reliability Operations Subcommittee. We do that every month, and we vote on these protocols, rules, and laws that are coming into effect to make sure that BPUB is in compliance and has a voice at the table. So if there's any issues that need to be brought up at that time, we will get with staff to make sure that our voice is heard and that we're able to vote on these very important matters that come up electric-wise.
And have we seen very much of a change in consumption, either, I guess, general consumption during this pandemic time?
Yes, actually, I was discussing that with some colleagues. And so what we have not seen is a dip in demand, but it's more along the lines of an increase in residential load. So we haven't necessarily seen a big drop in the megawatts, but we've seen it pop up in the residential sector to where more people are consuming more kilowatt hours. And so the requirements are still there. It just shows up in a different way. Rather than seeing it in the industrial sector and in the commercial sector, you're seeing it in the residential sector. So that's, we didn't necessarily foresee that, but it's there. And so we see the same, very, very similar style load, just showing up in a different area.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eli. And I'll give it another second if anyone had any more questions. And if y'all do, please feel free that y'all can still, do you know of any other upgrade or major projects that we maybe have coming in the next few years? Is there anything that we're looking at doing?
Yes, we're always looking at improvements, and right now we have to address the growing city. So we are anticipating a total rebuild of a substation on the southwest part of Brownsville, and which was approved by the board. So right now we're in the engineering design of it, and we're looking at possibilities of being able to serve additional load in northwest Brownsville. So we're still in preliminary discussions on that, but it may be that we decide, right now it has not been decided, but we decide to put in another substation in and around that area so that we'll be able to have more flexibility with regards to reliability, making sure that our system is reliable, and that we would be able to actually serve the load that's popping up in that part of Brownsville. So it's all infrastructure based. That is all that I could share with you. And in the future months, we'll probably take a few of these back to the board for more equipment or more direction on things that we're recommending.
Great, thank you. And y'all can still continue to send any questions y'all might have while we go ahead and go for our next stop.
BPUB is a member of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, better known as ERCOT. Silas Ray is just one link in a greater chain of generation sources located throughout Texas that ERCOT balances to make sure that you have the power you need when you need it. Now that we know a little bit more about how power is generated, our next stop is going to get us just a little bit closer to that energy arriving in your home or your business.
Welcome to the community tour. My name is Lutz Sippel. I work for the substations and relay department here at BPUB. We help manage the grid through our substations, which are connected to a series of transmission lines that encircle our city in a loop. After the electricity is generated by the power plant and other sources, renewables, they're distributed on a transmission line and brought to substations. We take the electricity from the substations and we transform it down to a manageable level that can be distributed to the houses so that the air conditioning and your TVs and electricity and everything works. We do that by managing the grid through protective devices which are connected to the grid, and we can distribute, control, manage, measure, do all kinds of really nice things with our automation and electronic devices to manage the grid. In a substation, we've got two big transformers out here which are connected through a bus up to a transmission line that you can see up behind us. Those transmission lines, you probably see them when you're driving around all over the city. They're all connected in a big loop, and that's how we keep the lights on at BUB. The grid, there's a tremendous amount of power out on the grid, 138,000 volts of electricity on the bigger transmission lines, in some cases 345,000. And the way we manage that is we use what we call instrument transformers that are connected or surrounded by into the conduit, the conductors, and we take a really large amount of electricity and we transform it down into a smaller amount of electricity, which we can then connect to a computer protective device to help manage the grid. We have some really large breakers out here. Over here, these little things that have what they look like triangle-shaped hats on them. Those are circuit breakers, almost exactly the same as the circuit breakers that are in your panel at home, where if you trip a breaker, it's a thermal device, you'll go in, you'll notice there's a little red flag or something, and you can reset it, and if the problem in your electrical circuit is gone, you can reset that breaker. We do something very similar, but on a much higher, more sophisticated level using computers that use ones and zeros to measure things and make decisions. This is a brand new state-of-the-art substation. We've got two transformers that are 28 megawatts each, which is 28 million watts. Probably between 1,500, 2,000 houses per transformer. So potentially this station could run a significant amount of community. For a city the size of Brownsville, this is our 16th substation. So if that gives you sort of an idea of how we can distribute. Oftentimes, a lot of it's redundancy. We're not at 100% capacity at any of them, and we can take one down for maintenance and testing and use the capacity of another one to supplement that. The equipment outside is very similar to what we've been doing in the industry for many, many, many years. There's aluminum infrastructure with transformers that are copper windings with oil inside, but the significant differences are inside the substation, and we'll show you some of that here, where we're able to manage the electricity for not only to protect the grid against faults to help secure safety of people, the equipment, but we can also manage things to keep the lights on or transfer loads and do things much quicker using computers and very sophisticated stuff. We've got some really nice state-of-the-art stuff in the equipment in this station, which we're excited about. So here in our substation, inside the substation is where we have our control devices, the electronic relays that are the computers that control the circuit breakers. We're able to use the data that these devices collect to manage the grid, whether we have to open a circuit because there's a fault, whether we need to manage some data for any kind of management, to redistribute load, to help manage where our load is going. These devices are very smart. I like to tell a lot of people that everybody's heard about the smart grid. There's not really such a thing as a smart grid. There's such a thing as smart people that program these relays and build them. And it's the wave of the future. These are very state-of-the-art relays. They've got actually touch screen, just like on your phone now, where we can navigate and get information out of them very quickly. Our technicians can come in, and if there's a situation where they need to make a quick decision or manage something in a hurry, they can do that very efficiently. As opposed to the old days where we have some gauges over here from maybe 30, 40 years ago. We still use some of the gauges as a redundance or fail-safe technique to measure something. So in closing, we're happy that you joined us virtually. We're kind of sorry that we usually do these tours in person, and we've had some university students. There's lots of very interesting questions which sometimes help with this. So if you're sitting and watching and you have some questions, get a hold of Ryan or somebody at PUB. They can put you in contact with the right people or myself, and we're happy to discuss it. And we're excited about what we do here. We're happy to share the information, and of course, we're looking for talented recruits for PUB. Thank you.
Great. And again, we'll open up for some questions. We did have a question earlier that I believe was answered some already in the video that we just watched. How many substations are there again within our system?
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I believe it's 16 active substations.
And then the substation that we were just in, it was, at the time we were in that interview, it wasn't energized yet, but it is now, isn't it?
Yes, we energized it shortly after that. Both transformers are online, and the distribution feeders are already doing their work. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of trips, but they reclosed immediately, so that tells us that the system is working just as intended perfectly. We're quite happy with that.
We did have a question in regards to kind of, I guess, the source of our electricity. I know it's something we kind of touched on a little bit with ERCOT, but the way our system is set up, we can kind of get electricity from anywhere almost in the state, isn't that right? So maybe
a better question for somebody.
I was going to say for Eli, maybe.
That's correct. We're quite diverse in our ability to get power over to our customers. So we know we also have power purchase agreements. We buy off the market each and every day. And capacity-wise, we're able to not only serve our load, but have a margin in case customers come on board. So we actively, on a daily basis, buy energy off the grid, and we're able to comfortably serve our customers for years to come. So that's always being monitored. There's a whole department that watches that, and we have a planning department that makes sure that in the future years that we're able to have that margin and continue to serve our customers. And in watching our growth, making sure that margin increases according to our growth. So we're doing that, and I think we're pretty good in that respect. So.
Okay. Thank you, Eli. And Lutz, I guess I'm curious, how much different is it, I guess, technology-wise or working with the new substation?
So that's a great question. I've been with PUB 14 years, and I've seen a significant acceleration in technology, especially in the way we trip and manage our breakers, going all the way back from old mechanical relays, multiple relays in one panel for one circuit or even one phase of a circuit, being able to replace, in some cases, 5, 6, 7 mechanical devices times 3 for 3 phases in one smart IED or electronic device, intelligent electronic device, I'm sorry, not to be confused with what they use over in Afghanistan. And we've improved our system significantly in the time that I've been here by upgrading not only relays, but building, renovating existing substations and building new ones like Rio Grande, which is pretty well stated. Great question.
Did anyone have any additional questions? So can you kind of walk us through a little bit what happens when there is an outage?
Sure, that's a great question. So there's a couple of types of outages. There's on a transmission line, which is how we bring in the electricity and distribute it through the city. If there's an outage on one of those lines, we often have a redundant line going into the substation, and hopefully nothing happens. You may see a blink in your lights or something of that nature. If it's a really powerful fault that sucks some voltage out of the system, you can maybe see the blink. But if we have the redundant line on the other side not go open or not trip, then your electricity doesn't go out. On the distribution side, however, we've got a little bit more action going on there, usually almost daily, really. So we've got all kinds of things that can affect short circuits to ground. The wires a lot of them are exposed to elements. There's vegetation that can get involved. There's Aunt Edna's anniversary party that she got a bunch of those balloons from Walmart, a bouquet of those, and one of them got away. And of course, some of those are made of metal, and they can get up into our power lines, and they can trip a circuit. In our distribution system, what we'll try to do is we'll try to clear that fault immediately and issue what we call an automatic reclose. And hopefully the automation takes over that balloon or that leaf vegetation or contamination. Could even possibly be a bird. We don't like to see that for sure. It goes away or the fault is cleared, and we carry on. You may see a momentary blink. So in some cases, we'll try that up to 3 times. We'll do it instantaneously. We'll try a second time 15 seconds later to see if maybe the contamination has fallen off the line. And then we'll do it one final time 30 seconds later. So at your house, if you actually see the lights blink possibly 3 times, they go out for 15 seconds and then they go up for 30 seconds and then they come back on and stay on. We've been successful at automatically clearing that load or that fault and restoring the load, and everybody's back in business. Unfortunately, sometimes if it's a permanent fault, you can have an vehicle accident, take out a pole, or it could be a tree that actually is permanently fallen on the line. That line will trip and it'll stay open, and you'll be out. The lights will be out, but we know that immediately. That gets transmitted to our energy control center immediately, and the troubleshooters are on call 24 hours, and they're going to get out there to work as fast as possible to restore that. Another great question.
Thank you. And did anyone have any additional questions at this time? Again, y'all can feel free to continue to send questions while we go ahead and show you the next stop.
You can see that it takes a massive infrastructure to provide the electricity needed to fuel a city like Brownsville. Now, with that infrastructure throughout the city, you need people who can not only maintain it, but can repair it if necessary. So that takes us to our last stop. Get ready to look upward to get a little bit of a sense of what BPUB's line crew does for us every day.
Good morning, I'm Eliazar Torres. I work in the construction and maintenance department. In our department, we do a little bit of everything. We set different sizes of poles, ranging from 120 to 35-foot poles. We also work with a lot of transformers, overhead and underground. In some cases where we have to replace transformers or work behind the yards, we don't have any access, we would need to access somebody with climbers. We do that with either with the climbers, or we have like a machine that we call an easy hauler to go back to replace the transformers. Also here we do the Herman rescue on a yearly basis. In case it does happen in the field, we have one of our certified linemen that's going to do a little presentation in a while do the Herman rescue. So in this demonstration, it would be to bring the dummy down, in this case, to bring it down to the ground, and the body does weigh around 250 pounds. So we do this on a yearly basis, from an apprentice to the lineman. In case if it does happen, say if somebody's up there, if it's really hot, if some people can hydrate up there, and they can't move anymore, so we bring them down. That's what it's really important to practice on a yearly basis in case if it does happen. Or in this case, if somebody gets hurt too, gets shocked or whatever, that they can't move anymore, we have to have somebody, go up there and physically take them down. So right now we have a demonstration. We have one of our linemen that's going to do the demonstration to do the Herman rescue. And the tools he has his climbers, his belt, and we just got a new belt maybe like 2-3 years ago, which is called a super squeeze. In case you slip off the pole, it'll choke the pole and you won't fall all the way down. And this, he needs of course, his belt, his climbers, and a hand line to tie. In this case, it's going to be the dummy, but I don't feel it would be one of the employees or one of the co-workers bringing them down off the pole. So he's going to do a little demonstration right now of bringing the dummy down off the pole. There used to be 2 minutes, but now with this new belt, there's actually, we don't have a set time right now, as long as you bring him down safely, and of course the safety of the guy. If he does it safely, the person that's going up there does it safely, just bring him down, That's what so when somebody's gonna climb the pole, we have what you call a spotter, having his climbers, all his gear set up next to the pole. In case it does happen, they're ready to go, take him down if we need to. The climbers themselves have what they call gaffs on each side, your left and right climbing gear. Stick into the wood, but before they have to have a certain angle. You just can't put them in straight. You have to put them in a certain angle. That's what they did give us a climbing course that we took. That's what they train you, how to do it the proper way. Just the belt itself with all, the hammer, all your tools, you're talking about 30 pounds. Well, these are some of the tools we use in our department, the electrical department. He's wearing some rubber gloves with their special. They're rated for 26,000 volts. Our voltage ranges from 12,470 to 7,200. This is also called a shotgun that we use. This is to use in the underground department with their URD transformers. He's also wearing a face shield. That's in case there is an arc, that'll protect you from either getting a flash over on your face or your neck area. He's also, our uniforms are FR rated, and he's also wearing the lanyard for the bucket that attached to one of the buckets. So in case in an event that the bucket does come loose, he won't fall down. We'll also wear steel toe boots, and of course our hard hat and safety glasses all the time. Our gloves, we get them tested every 6 months. Our equipment, we get them tested yearly. And if they don't pass, we either, dispose of them and we order new ones. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure that if you see a power line down, make sure you keep your distance, keep away from it. Call either Brownsville PUB or 911, and they'll send the proper personnel to go out there and make sure that, just stay away from the wire. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did have a question come in about do the employees go through any type of first aid training or CPR, anything like that?
Hello, Mr. Torres. Yes, we do. We do some training. We try to do it every I think the CPR is every 2 years. The one who could answer probably Adolfo, but yes, we do go to some training. And of course, we do some training ourselves with the TICO training to get our people ready to go off and all that stuff.
Adolfo, I don't know if you wanted to add any to that. You're currently on mute. If you need me to unmute you. Sec. Adolfo, did you have anything you wanted to add to the EMS CPR training? Right. But I believe that I know I had to take the CPR training as well. So it's something that that many of the employees I know have to do. I know something that I was wondering about when I was watching was just how tiring is it to do that? I know it's a lot of weight, but is it working like some different types of muscles than you usually would normally?
Oh, yes, it is pretty tiring, but it also depends on the weather. Like in the summer, I want to say June, July, August is one of our worst months, but it's pretty tiring. But I mean, we do take our time, and as long as nobody gets hurt, our priorities, safety would be the number one priority. And I do have the car, the CPR, we do it every 2 years.
Every 2.
Yeah.
And as far as accidents or anything, I mean, I know that safety is always something that is really stressed, isn't it?
That is correct. Yeah, we take every precaution that we can. As long as they do it safe. I mean, like I tell the guys, we're not racing each other. So as long as you do it safely, the way you go up the pole, that's the way, I want for them to come down the pole without, getting hurt or anything like that.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been for the company for almost 26 years. I became an apprentice a year after that. Back then, it would just be by promotion and do training with different entities to come in and give us training from Texas Engineering Extension out of Bryan, Texas. And then after the year, you became an apprentice, and you would start climbing and doing the Hertman rescue once a year. But of course, I mean, we would still practice. When we ever had something on climbers, you would go up there, just to keep the practice in place.
And how much has your job changed in those years? I mean, is it still kind of the same types of things that you need to do, or is it kind of shifted?
No, I kind of shifted. I mean, we got better equipment now than we did before. Because, I mean, back then, when we didn't have any access to go to the backyards, like, I know we have sections like in Calle Jacaranda, Calle Cenizo, where you can take a big unit out there. So everything had to be done with climbers. But now we actually have 2 machines that are called EC haulers. And those, you can take them in the backyard and they'll help you, either you can attach a bucket to go up and do what you have to do, or you can set up pole, whatever, or help you down, bring that transformer down, instead of doing everything manually. So yeah, we have actually progressed.
See, you mentioned the bucket. How much do you use the bucket versus having to actually climb like what we saw?
Well, the bucket, I mean, we use it every day. A lot of our work is, I'm gonna say 95% of the work is gonna be bucket with the bucket truck. I mean, there's gonna be instances where we are gonna work like, like I'm saying, Hakaranda or somewhere you don't have an office. Something not major, like not to replace a transformer, maybe a connection or a fuse, that you have to do it in time. But it happens, especially when we get bad weather in those places. There's a lot of vegetation.
I know there's always a lot of talk about what we can or are not able to do, like during a storm. What are some of the? I know that there's some certain guidelines. Like, what are the conditions that you're able to do work in?
Well, we can work as long as the speed doesn't pick up over 35 miles an hour. Then we usually just keep our buckets down, where we can go up there and either wait for the winds to die down, so we can go ahead and proceed with the work.
And see if there are any other questions. Is there any advice that you would give someone who is interested in becoming a line worker?
Well, it's a good field of work. It is, it's a big demand, for what we do and stuff. Well, yeah, they can try. It's something, you learn something every day. Because we do have some equipment that's been there for a long time. I mean, I didn't even know. But you learn something and you either replace it or whatever. Yeah, it's a good work field.
Do y'all know, for like businesses, is there what kind of setup is there for replacements of transformers, or can y'all give an idea of how many years those tend to last?
I'm gonna say they range from 15 to 20 years, like a transformer. But now I think we went into buying them either. I think they're made out of aluminum or stainless, which they last for a pretty long time. We have that problem a lot, especially we have where there's a lot of humidity. Where last time, I mean, they were made out of metal and they weren't lasting that long, especially when it got sprinkled close by. But now I think we're going towards aluminum, and those tend to last a lot longer, maybe double in life.
Wow. And the humidity, along with, I guess, the dust that we have in our area also causes some problems, doesn't it?
That is correct. We do have we put a crew together that also does the washing, especially when it's really dusty. In some years, we do monitor the circuits and stuff, and then they do wash them, and they go by substation to substation, washing the distribution and transmission lines.
That's something that we do a lot more, especially during the summer, right?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you. And what would you say is the most difficult part of your job?
The most difficult, I want to say it's pretty dangerous. What we do, it's pretty dangerous. But I mean, we do have the proper PPE. As long as you use the proper PPE, and also when you be working on distribution lines, as long as you put them on a single shovel, we call, in case there is an operation or something goes wrong, the circuit will automatically open and it won't be energized. But it's difficult in the sense that it's very dangerous. That a little mistake can cost you or somebody else's to get hurt.
Yeah, sounds like definitely a lot of teamwork.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, like I said, the most difficult, I'm gonna say it's the whole thing, because I mean we work with the energized lines all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And in case there are any other questions, you can feel free to go ahead and continue to send them over to me. And we've just got a little bit more to go.
Thank you.
We have the last segment of the video that should be queued up now.
A big thank you to all the BPUB employees who helped out with this tour. It is the dedication of these local employees that really sets public power apart. Now let's use the distance that we currently have to our advantage and head on out to Hebbronville, Texas, where the answer, my friend, really is blowing in the wind. Electrical generation. It's ever evolving to meet the public's needs and keep up with the progress of technology. From the beginning days of electrical service in Brownsville, when diesel was used to create electricity, through to the use of coal and then natural gas, Brownsville has witnessed many changes, and the Brownsville Public Utilities Board is taking a step toward more change, as it will now harness the power of wind to create electricity with the construction of the Sendero Wind Farm. Wind energy has seen tremendous growth in the last few years. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, wind capacity grew by 8% in 2014 and was forecast to increase by 13% in 2015 and by 14% in 2016. After waiting for the right opportunity, this represents BPUB's first foray into renewable energy.
The Brownsville PUB is very excited as the Sendero Wind Project reaches its commercial operation date. For a number of reasons. This is our first, as you mentioned, our first wind resource, but it is a resource that's being constructed by a really strong partner, Exelon. We couldn't be more pleased with how successful they've been developing wind, not just in Texas, but throughout the country. So we're excited. The project's coming to completion and can't wait to receive the power to deliver to our customers.
The Sendero Wind Farm in Hebbronville, Texas is now online and bringing power to Brownsville residents. Located on approximately 20,000 acres in Jim Hogg and Zapata counties in South Texas, the facility was constructed by Exelon Generation and is their 11th Texas wind project. The wind farm is capable of producing 78.2 megawatts of electricity. According to ERCOT, 1 megawatt is capable of powering as many as 200 homes during peak demand. While the facility is located miles from Brownsville, there are certain advantages to this location.
This location is ideal because the wind comes up about the same time that the load on our system comes up. The wind patterns that you have here are very close to what you see in a coastal environment, but you don't have the corrosive nature of the wind. You don't have to worry about hurricane damaging the turbines. It is situated in a perfect location with regards to that.
There are 39 GE turbines installed at this location, each one capable of producing 2 megawatts of electricity. These turbines represent a significant increase in performance over its 1 megawatt predecessors. GE's 2.0 megawatt 116 meter rotor wind turbine offers a 27% increase in swept area when compared to the 1.7 megawatt 103 meter turbine, resulting in a 26% increase in annual energy production. This increase in blade swept area allows greater energy capture and improved project economics for wind developers. The intelligent design allows the wind turbine to adjust to wind conditions. GE's patented advanced loads control reduces loads on turbine components by measuring stresses and individually adjusting blade pitch. And the top of the turbine is actually able to swivel to be in the best position to catch the wind as it blows through the area. Let's look at some of the main parts of a turbine. First is the most obvious, the rotor. The rotor includes the 3 blades used to capture the wind's energy. The wind creates a pocket of pressure as it passes behind the blade, causing the turbine to rotate. The nacelle looks similar to a box that sits atop the tower and is connected to the rotor through a series of gears. The nacelle houses a generator and gearbox. As the generator spins, electricity is produced. The tower stretches 80 meters tall, which converts to an impressive 262 feet. The towers have ladders running up the inside so that people can work inside them. As the wind blows, the blades spin clockwise and energy is captured. This causes the main shaft, which is connected to a gearbox within the nacelle, to spin. In turn, the gearbox sends the energy to a generator to convert it to electricity. That electricity is then sent down the tower to a transformer, where it is converted for use on the electrical grid and delivered to the residents of Brownsville.
The future for BPUB is very bright. With SpaceX coming into our area and other industry coming to develop, our demand will continue to grow, and we will continue to look at opportunities to add to our portfolio, to diversify that portfolio with either battery storage or solar panels is definitely on the radar. We look at that and evaluate that to find the point in which the economics make sense for us to purchase a solar resource.
The Brownsville Public Utilities Board has always elected to control its own destiny, choosing to produce its own power rather than just relying on the open market. The addition of wind energy represents a further strengthening and diversification of BPUB's energy portfolio, making the Brownsville area even more attractive to businesses looking to find a home. With eyes always on both meeting the city's demands and providing the infrastructure to grow, BPUB will continue to seek out the best opportunities to power Brownsville today and well into the future.
So we did want to just conclude by showing y'all the video that we produced in regards to the Sendero Wind Farm. It has been open for energized for, I believe, 4 or 5 years now, and it is our first wind farm. It's one of those things that I don't think people a lot of times realize it. So just wanted to make sure to include that. Now, if anyone had any other questions for us, I did think I would ask a little bit to Mr. Alvarez. How has the wind farm, how has that impacted our resources?
Yeah, it's a great addition to our portfolio. It's flexible in a sense that if the board, through our recommendations, ever would want to increase the availability there, we would actually have that opportunity if ever there was an opportunity. So as developers choose to make these decisions, we have that opportunity to off-take any developments that, in this case, Exelon would make. And so it does offer great flexibility because of the ability to have a wind farm there in that area and all the positives to have it there. It's away from the coast, that is, and so it has somewhat of a barrier for tropical hurricane coming in and knocking it down. So it gives us a very good flexibility, very good diversity. And so if ever there was an opportunity to evaluate some more offtake in that area, I think that BPUB would look at that and make a solid recommendation. So it does very well. It does diversify us enough to where we have that flexibility and have that, as I had mentioned before, that margin for our customers coming in, and we're able to serve our customers more reliably with that resource. Ryan, I think you're on you're on mute.
Yes, sorry, just noticed that. I did get a question in regards to COVID. Was there any preparations that we had to do to make sure that we had the resources necessary during that time?
Yeah, from the electrical standpoint, yes, it was. This obviously is a 100-year event. From the, I guess historically, we're looking at it as pretty unprecedented in our generation, and in over 100 years we haven't experienced something like this. So there was a lot of learning as we go, and a lot of preparations for things that worked and working with other entities such as the American Public Power Association on best practices and the TPPA as well. So that's the Texas Public Power Association. We attended many of those meetings that they had, and currently we're still learning on preparation and best practices, having to combat not only what we're dealing with on an everyday basis operationally, but making sure that our employees are as best as we can. They're also, we have to look out for their health and safety. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. There's a lot of lessons learned going on, and there's a lot of having to continually change our operations and our way of doing things to make sure that individuals, employees are safe while at the workplace. So that's an ongoing thing. Yes, we have changed operations. I'll give you one very good example where before a bucket truck, like the ones that you saw during the hurt man rescue off to the side, one of the major changes that we had for our crews was that in some cases, they would have to, there was just one per unit. So it adds a few things in terms of public safety because you have more trucks out, and perhaps the spotter that would normally be there is not there. So if you're carrying a big load, like maybe a trailer vehicle or a bucket truck itself, you don't have that person riding alongside of you. And then from a traffic standpoint, you have more vehicles on the road. So because we're trying to social distance and keep employees one per vehicle, there's those unintended consequences that spill over to the public. And so there's more vehicles on the road, more chances to get into vehicle collisions or whatever, what have you. And so that's a major thing. And the other thing is for our electric line workers, you saw them that they as well, when they're in very close proximity to their coworkers, they require masks. And so it's important to lay out that foundation. A lot of these masks that we're wearing are not intended to be in or being used during hotline work because they are not flame resistant, as I think Mr. Torres had mentioned. Some of the PPE they have are their uniforms themselves. And so we needed to make sure that in the situations where they're doing hotline work, that their face masks are also FR, or we call them facial coverings rather than face masks, right? But the facial coverings that they're using are also FR. So equipment-wise, that's just two examples. The first example with operating their vehicles, we had to separate them to maintain that social distance. And that was a company-wide thing. Our safety department has been, as I had mentioned, on top of these collaborations with APPA, TPPA, coming up with best practices. They had recommended that employees do one per vehicle. That was great. And then from the perspective of the facial coverings, although there was, I guess, leadership in general were at odds whether the facial coverings were important or not. We made the decision early on to go with the county's recommendation on having them. And then in actually providing it to the employees, we had to make sure that it met the requirements of the job. And for the line workers, it was having them having those facial coverings when they're used in hotline work, making sure that they are FR rated and rated for the job that we're asking them to do so they can do it safely. So those are a few examples, but we are continually to evaluate our operations and making sure that the job and the workplace are safe for everybody. And that is an ongoing thing, and we're learning a lot. But in that case, when there's better ways to do things, we're staying on top of we're staying on top in terms of the research that comes out to make sure that whatever is best practice, that we're trying to implement that. You're on mute again, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm muting myself to make sure you come out clear. Can you explain for us a little bit how the energy that's made in Hebronville gets its way to the customers here in Brownsville?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, but there's a lot of basically you don't have a energy packet that comes down and it says Hebronville only for Brownsville, but it doesn't work like that. It comes to a hub, right? It comes to a point in which it's metered, and the Brownsville pub would have the capacity, whatever the outtake capacity of Hebronville available to disperse to its customers. So if you have 20 megawatts, I'm just giving you an example. I don't really know what exactly is being produced there at Sendero, but you would have up to those 20 megawatts to account for on your own availability to give to your customers. So if you would have 40 megawatts outtake and you would get to that hub, you have up to those 40 megawatts that you'd be able to provide to your customers and so forth. So basically everything's interconnected, as Mr. Gonzalez had mentioned. It comes to a hub or a metering point, and at that point you would have the availability to have access to that generation, or it would actually be generation throughout. So whatever it is that you're being that you have in your portfolio, whether it is a solar, whether it is a wind resource, it comes to a point or a hub, and then that is transmitted on to the further down the stream or upstream from that hub, and then that's how it's served. So when you buy these certificates, it doesn't really necessarily mean that you're using that particular energy that you're producing at that point, but you have access to whatever it is producing, and then you're able to serve your customers like that. So it's kind of confusing, but it's not, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get that particular electron that's produced at Hebron. You just have access to a greater amount of energy, and then that would allow you to serve your customers. It's somewhat confusing, but if you take a look at the whole picture and you do additional research, I think that anybody would understand it. It's just all basically the way I explain it is it comes to a hub, it is metered, and you have access to that. Whatever it is you're purchasing, you have access to that for your customers.
Thank you. And going to see if there are any other questions. Doesn't look like it, but I want to again thank everyone for joining us, not just the attendees, but the panel members who came to be able to answer people's questions. Just remember that we are here for you as a municipally owned utility. We are a part of the community. So if y'all have any questions, if y'all want to know more, please reach out to us. And if not, I want to remind people that in May, we have the water and wastewater tour. And so, it might end up being virtual again. And if so, we would love for y'all to join us again. So thank y'all very much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.